Hi, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Crystal Masters for June. I am so excited for tonight's class because it's kind of got a little bit of all of my favorite things wrapped up in it. So, welcome in. Is anybody new? We've had a lot of new members in Crystal Masters this month. So, if you are new, I want to welcome you and tell you how excited I am for tonight's class. We're going to learn a lot. I talked about spheres last year in Crystal Masters, but in a different way than I'm talking about them tonight. So are you ready? It's getting hot in here. It's humid actually in Southern California today, and it's about 85 degrees. So it's not quite, what you guys are going through maybe in Mississippi or Florida or Georgia, but we're having our own situation. So welcome, look at that. We have a few first timers tonight. I am thrilled to welcome you. Truly, look at that in the feed. So, hey, say hi to everybody. If you're not new, that's great too. I like you when you're old, and I like you when you're new. Zoe came running up to me as I was coming in today to turn on my camera, and she had painted this for me, which I think is really beautiful. She's quite the artist. So she was out there painting for me today. Kansas is hot, I bet it is. Well, I'm glad you're ready for class. So, first of all, a couple things to tell you. We did a fun little discount for you. CM20 takes 20% off at sagegoddess.com, because if you didn't get the tool for tonight, maybe after class you're like, I think I want that. We have a few of them. We don't have a lot of them. We just have what was left right after all of the subscriptions went through. So there's a little bit of that. And thank you for that. I'm going to tell her that you said you liked it. She'll be so honored that you think it's good. Isn't she quite an artist, right? So we have some different spheres for you. We have that sphere for you that is to the focus of tonight's class. And I'm really excited because the stones in here have more intention than you might think. There's a reason why these three stones were put together. We did another sphere like this at the same time as we created this one, but because of COVID, it's about 6 months late. So at some point there will be another triple sphere like this one, but we don't have it tonight to talk to you about, but we do have some of these left if you want one of those. What else did I want to tell you? We have some other spheres in the shop too. I'm basically going to be teaching you tonight about, let me ring my bell. I always ring the bell at the beginning of class. So session 2 for June is in motion right now. Singing bowls are delayed because of COVID. Everything's delayed because of COVID. It's really hard. You know what I mean? Because the parts of the world where a lot of our tools are made, which is Indonesia, I think India, Nepal, Malaysia, they're going through some of the worst of it right now. So everything is delayed, unfortunately, but we'll keep you posted. So I'm going to be teaching you tonight about the energy of spheres and why the sphere is so important. And I'm going to show you different types of spheres, different sizes of spheres, but they all fundamentally have the same healing properties in common. So it doesn't matter whether you have a big ball or a little ball. Balls are magic for a reason, right? And they have been since the beginning of time. Spheres are also really the most expensive thing to carve, and I'll explain that too, because it'll help you kind of understand, like, whoa, when I buy a sphere out of citrine, it's 10 times more expensive than a generator. Why is that? Well, it's the amount of loss. A generator is often just a point from a cluster that gets cut off. But to make a sphere, you have to start with something that's usually 5 times more rough material than you'll end up in the sphere. So that would mean that the piece of rough to create this sphere would be the size of your screen right now. And then all of that is technically lost, although they can make tumble stones and things out of it too. So we're going to talk about spheres tonight. We're going to talk about chakras. We're going to talk about the toroidal field briefly. That's what I focused on last year when we were talking about spheres, but I do want to talk about it just a little bit today. And then my lovely assistant, Charlotta, is going to let me do a little body work on her tonight. She already signed her consent form, and so she is prepared. She's raising her eyebrow at you. She's not sure. She is prepared for me to show you on her how I incorporate spheres into crystal healing body work. And since the world is opening up and you know what I mean, you might be getting back out there, starting to work with clients in person again, which would be super great. I know I'm looking forward to having body work sessions and energy work sessions in person again after so long. You know, it's nice to do things virtually, but God, there's nothing like someone having their hands on you, right? I mean, it's like, So, we're not going to flip our Taurus tonight unless you want to. You want to flip your Taurus? I'm actually going to teach you how to rotate the Taurus tonight in crystal healing. So we'll focus on that a little bit more tonight than flipping it. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say if you're free for the next 2 hours, you can come and I'll work on you. We used to have members of Team SG let me do body work on them. I'm gonna knock my soda over. And so that was kind of fun because when we were in the office, I actually had live demonstration. I miss those days a lot. I miss my team too. I know, right? So we'll talk about it. Aaron Storm, we're going to talk about that tonight. So I'm going to burn a little, just a little white sage. Just a little. We are doing some energy work tonight, so I am going to open a circle and do all the things. And I will say, if you're new to Crystal Masters, for me personally, I've learned crystal healing and healing more generally techniques from probably close to 36 different people over the last 30 years that I've been really studying. I really started studying metaphysics at the end of high school, and I'm turning 48, so it's 30 years. And every single one of those people does things slightly differently. So what I always tell people is, I'm going to teach you my way. Feel free to adapt it. I think your intuition is accurate. So if I teach you something tonight where you're like, I like that, but I kind of want to do it slightly differently, or I like that, but I prefer this other thing better, always go with what feels right to you, what resonates with you over anything I tell you, because your intuition is accurate for you. There's a reason you have it. And like I said, I have worked with teachers from almost every tradition across the world, really. And they're all very different. And I get something kind of different and interesting from each one of them in their own way, right? So yeah. I should ask the woman on Etsy who made Charletta if she can make mini Charlettas, you know? But anyway, so keep that in mind as we're going through. You need to sort of vibrate in a way that works for you and represents an alignment to your own inner knowing and your intuition. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I want to tell you before we get started. So why is the sphere so important? Why is the sphere so important? You know, there are 3 primary, and I'm just making this smaller to help you see it. There are 3 primary forms of crystals that people tend to collect, right? They tend to collect generators, they tend to collect spheres, and they tend to collect pyramids. You know, and I also include obelisks with pyramids. You know what I mean? Because generators or obelisks are basically like elevated pyramids. You know what I mean? It's like big extended base. And so why is it that people gather with these 3 shapes? Well, they are universal. And I'll explain what I mean by that. The sphere, if you think about it, is the shape of every planet in our solar system, right? That perfect round orb. And so our universe is constructed of spheres, right? We inhabit spheres. Spheres are how we experience our relationship to the sun and to the moon and to the other planets in our solar system. And wands too, but if you think about it, well, I'm talking about the 3 top ones, Anna, because I agree with you, hearts are very popular too, but I'm talking about the 3 primary, okay? If you look at most people you talk to in the crystal industry, you'll say, what are the top 3 things that people come to you for? Generators, pyramids or obelisks, and spheres. And then after that, definitely hearts and skulls and flames and all the things, you know what I mean? But like there's kind of a hierarchy in terms of popularity. And I think it's because some of these things have these foundational origins. Now the pyramids are what I believe our Atlantean ancestors decided to create to harness the energy of sound and frequency in ancient Egypt. And so they built these pyramids, and then outside the pyramids they built these obelisks, and the goal was to be able to be closer to what they considered to be these sky gods, right? And so you have that. And then you have generators. And I think the point of generators, the value of generators is that generators are six-sided. And what they really are is cut points from clusters of quartz. And quartz is the highest vibrational mineral on this earth. And so the cut points in every civilization have been prized. They've been carved. Quartz has been carved into everything since the beginning of time, right? Whenever you find archaeological sites, there's usually something carved of quartz, whether it's a sundial in Egypt or it's skulls in for the Mayans or whatever it is. You find these ceremonial tools and these statues and everything carved of quartz because I think our ancestors understood the vibration, right? So these are the three sort of like primary shapes that stones get carved into that people are looking for. And spheres are definitely one of the number one most sought after. Now, what I'm going to tell you is, in my experience, and welcome in, by the way, if you're just coming in a few minutes after we've started, please do not worry. I welcome you. I teach adults for a reason. And the reason is you can come and go at your leisure. If you need to take a break, you can step away for a few minutes and come back. This is recorded. You can watch it later. So please know I'm here in service to you. So whenever you come, you're right on time. Truly. So please don't ever feel bad for coming a few minutes late. I'm just grateful that you're here, and I hope you enjoy what time you have. So your energy field. I want to start with your energy field and kind of like start bigger picture, and then we'll get more narrow. Your energy field is a sphere. What I call the PEF, your primary energy field, is a matrix, a web of energy that surrounds you, and it's about 12 inches outside of your physical form. So it's 12 inches above your head, it's 12 inches to the side of you outside the widest part of your shoulders, and it's 12 inches beneath your feet. And it really does form a circle of energy, a sphere of energy, and that energy flows in what we call a tube torus. Torus, the root word of the word torus is swelling, like an expansion, okay? So this is the expansion of your energy. Your body is not the end of you. I'm sure you guys realize this. And by the way I teach crystal healing is not just through crystals, it's also by understanding your energy field. Because for me, if you don't understand your energy field, then you don't quite know what to do with your crystals. Because your crystals have their own energy field. So crystal healing for me is the merging of your personal energetic field with the energetic field of the crystals with intention. That's the definition for me of crystal healing. So when I teach you about the field, before I teach you about the crystal, it's so that because I want you to enter our work today understanding not just what this crystal is, the stones it's comprised of, that it comes from Madagascar and India and stuff like that's important, but I also want you to understand the why this shape. How do I work with this as a tool to help myself and help other people? And why is this shape better than maybe other shapes I would work with? So that's why I'm starting by talking about the field. And Megan's asking that she heard someone say your aura is 6 feet or more. My experience of the auric field, which like I said, you know what I mean? I'm always just going to teach you everything that I know. And I've done, most of my experience with the energetic field has been through plant ceremony. And through the incredible visual experiences I've had in those journeys. So I've only ever seen an energy field that extends to what I just described to you. And it tends to be the personal human energetic field. Sometimes it's portrayed as a sphere, but within that sphere, we're actually existing in something of an octahedron of light. So there's sort of this diamond-shaped energy that is at the top of our head and the bottoms of our feet and kind of gets wider. And then around that we have this sphere, this egg of energy. That is, what I have seen in my own experience is about 12 to maybe 18 inches beyond you. But then you have to remember everything around you has an energy field too. And people, plants, crystals, and that energy field is also 12 to 18 inches. So when you start to merge energy fields, the energy field expands. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm glad that makes sense. Now let me show you what that energy field looks like. It looks like a donut. And I like donuts, so it gets me very excited. This is what it looks like. Now this representation that I'm showing you right here, this is from an old worksheet from last year. But Alexis can, put a representation of this up in your Facebook group, or you can Google this. This is a one-dimensional view of a three-dimensional, multi-dimensional object. Okay, so when you look at this, it looks like a flower, right? But what you have to know is that you're looking at that one-dimensionally. When you turn that three-dimensionally and it starts to move, it's actually literally like a big donut. Okay, and sometimes the energy gets pulled, the spin goes inward, and sometimes the spin goes outward with the torus. And then you can actually do what we did last year, which is take your toroidal field, and through visualization you can actually turn it upside down. Your toroidal field is that spin of energy, and it's happening around you right now. It's happened around you since you became, and it will continue around you for as long as you are, that other people can sense, as long as you're on this plane. And then when you leave this plane, I believe that field leaves with you. So I believe that toroidal field is the kind of the perpetual you that you carry in. Right now it's living inside of this thing, right? So this thing is experiencing the flow of energy, but this thing will go away, in less than 100 years, and then that spin will continue, because that's the perpetual you. Yeah, so I wish I had a 3D tube. You know what, Alexis, we should order. Can you see if you can find an artist on Etsy? Maybe Rachel can assist with this. See if we can find an artist on Etsy who has a 3D tube torus, so that we can order it and I can have it for class, because it would be a really cool teaching tool. I'm sure there are people on Etsy who've made 3D, torus. Kind of neat, right? So this movement is what's constantly happening to you. And what happens when you interact with someone or something and you're in this flow is their flow starts to join with your flow. Have you had this experience? So there's a new person in your life, or you meet someone online and everything is flowing and it's like, wow, these energies are merging. It feels good to be in that person's presence and you want more. Or sometimes you meet someone new and your energy is flowing and it's like their energy is literally flowing in an opposite direction, like the tubes don't merge. There's like it's like a crossing. It doesn't, you know what I mean? So some toroidal fields move in a really beautiful synchronous movement with each other, and some fields almost move like they're gears that can't get into their synchronicity. Do you know what I mean? You knew donuts were sacred. That's right, Lizzie. So what I'm sharing with you today is your crystals have this flow, this field. You have this flow, this field. My personal belief is, like, we as humans think we're in control all the time. So we go, oh, well, I chose this crystal, and I chose that sound tool, and I chose that relationship, and I chose that plant and stuff. But the reality is, not everybody makes the same choices you do. Things are choosing you, right? Energies are coming into your field, teachers, tools, experiences, other people, relationships, what you consume through what you eat, what you consume in terms of what you pay attention to. Like, that stuff is finding you, because your field either needs something that those energies are bringing, or you need to learn something through what those energies are going to be bringing, right? Okay, so the only form of gemstones that contains the toroidal field, the only form of gemstone that contains it, is the sphere. Every other sacred geometric shape, including the Platonic solids, which I believe Plato was correct, right? That the Platonic solids are basically the 5 elemental building blocks of life, right? The tetrahedron, the octahedron, the hexahedron, those are the building blocks of life. But the sphere also includes all of the Platonic solids. When you think about it, the sphere is the original point of creation that came out of what we know as the Big Bang, right? Which most physicists agree happened. The challenge is most physicists don't agree on why the Big Bang happened. But most of us believe that the Big Bang happened and created what we call a 0 point, right? It created an opening, a perforation, an opportunity for all the energy of our existing universe to come into material form. And so the sphere is actually really a dot, and the dot is the point of creation. So from the dot, we get the petal of life, which leads to the seed of life, which leads to the flower of life, and the cell divides, and the cell divides, and the cell divides, and the cell divides. By the way, if any of this doesn't make sense, just let me know, and I'll try to explain it in a different way. So the sphere isn't just a sphere. The sphere, for me, one of the reasons it's my favorite shape of a crystal, and it really is. When I got my first quartz sphere, I cried. I really did. And I still, when I hold it to this day, it sits right in here. I work with it about once a week. I still hold it and become very teary, because there's something about holding a sphere, your first sphere, it's a magical experience, because I think what it does is it connects you with your own toroidal flow. It's almost like holding in your hand what you know you already are. And so, but your Taurus can become blocked, and that happens through your chakras. So you have this broader big Taurus around you, right? This constant flow of energy. And sometimes it feels slow and sluggish, right? And sometimes it feels like it's spinning really fast, right? So sometimes time seems to go very slowly, and then sometimes it's like you can barely keep up, right? So that's your own flow of energy and how you're relating to your universe. Your chakras are the microcosm of how that's actually happening, okay? So you have this big energy flow, and then within you, you have these 7 centers of energy, and they are also spherical, okay? Chakra in Sanskrit means wheel. And so each one of your 7 chakras is a circle. It's a sphere. It's another point of creation, if you will. It's the way each one of those energies is anchored in your physical being. Does that make sense? So tonight what I want to teach you is how to work with a sphere on the body at each one of the chakras, which we have not done before, to show you how to open and close the energy centers, right? If you feel like one is overactive, then we can sort of narrow it using the sphere. And I'm going to show you this on Charletta. And if you feel like one is too closed, we can open it using the sphere. And what we're doing is basically manipulating what we know already exists, right? We're working with the flow of energy through the energy centers as we know it already exists. You are nothing but a sphere. You are 7 spheres within a larger sphere. And your spheres are connecting to my spheres, and my spheres are connecting to her spheres, and we're all, life is this big energetic dance party, right? Where it's like, now I'm in your field, now I'm not, right? Now I'm in your field, now I'm not. Now this other person's in your field, now they're not, right? And because we can't control anyone but ourselves, that's the serendipity of life, is this constant like coming into the field, coming out of the field. And sometimes, have you ever had this happen to you? It has happened to me more since I've been really doing my soul work than at any other time in my life. So see if this has happened to you too. Right, Karen? People, when I was younger, people would kind of gently come into my life and gently come out of my life. Now it's like turbocharged. People like fly into my life and fly out of my life. Like, now they're in, now they're out. And I'm like, what? And I think the spin of that is because it's just, I've gotten to this point where it's like, let's just fast forward this. You know what I mean? It either works or doesn't. It either works or it doesn't. Works now, it doesn't work. Now they're back, now they're out. Now they're back, now they're out. They're in, they're out. They're around, they're down, kind of thing. So I think as you get older and your energy field gets tighter and perhaps more healed and aligned, so your frequency is more clear, I think that the in and out, they crash in, they crash out. It doesn't take as long, because it's like you're more clear about who you are. You're more clear about what your vibration is resonating with or not resonating with. It's interesting, right? Spin in and spin out, baby. And I always say, bless the comings and the goings, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we have to, right? I mean, life is nothing but entrances and exits, and some of them are more dramatic than others, right? And I will tell you too, so let's just make this one more step complicated if we can for a second. The frequency of the planet is shifting right now. It's increasing. Some people are very uncomfortable with it. Some people, I'm a little bit more comfortable with it because I've kind of seen it coming for the last 5 years. So now that it's here, I'm like, well, here it is, right? This is the big this is the catching up, I guess, of the frequency rise, right? So I think that the planet itself is evolving. The speed of the spin of the planet itself is increasing, and so our own personal spin is increasing. And for some people, it feels like the days are going by faster. They can't keep up. They're a little stressed. There's some agitation going on. People taking things very personally, right? Because they don't quite know how to. They don't know what this is. You and I are having this conversation, so you kind of know what this is, and I know what this is. But a lot of people are like, "What's happening to me?" Right? And they're feeling kind of crazy. All the therapists in the world I know say they've never had longer lines to go in and have therapy because people are like, what the actual heck is going on? So I think there is this kind of like very low level but pretty persistent and constant agitation. And I think it's because the movement, the spin is increasing. And for some of us, it's like, we knew this was coming, but now that it's here, it's really here. And you can be a good teacher and a good support system if you can also understand or help people understand what's happening if you've got people in your life who are not clear about it. Now, I'm going to show you something. Has anybody ever had an MRI? I have to have them every year, every 18 months for my brain and my spinal column. It's not my favorite thing to do. It makes me very happy that I know how to meditate so I don't go crazy. But when they do an MRI, I'm always excited because afterward I get to look at my brain sort of from the top down and see the slices, you know what I mean? Or I get to see it from the sides. I get to see my brain from different angles, and I think that's really cool. Okay, so if you've had an MRI, then you know what I'm talking about. So the way I want to describe, it's not my favorite thing either. The way I want to describe your chakras is almost like if you'd had an MRI and we were looking down into your spinal column. So rather than thinking of your chakras as boom, 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 like down the front of you, I want you to imagine that the top of your head is glass and we can look down into your spinal cord to see your chakras. Can we do that for a second? Because here's what you would see. Are you ready? And by the way, what I'm teaching you right now came to me for you guys in meditation a couple days ago, and I wasn't even really trying to prepare class. This is a visualization that came to me in meditation, and it was like, you need to show them this. And I've never thought about the chakras this way. I've never taught the chakras this way. But I actually think it's really, really helpful because you need to be able to visualize your chakras, and for some of us, that's not so easy. And so I want to give you a new kind of way of thinking about your chakra system through a really shitty drawing. I mean, this is nothing great. I did this with my own hands. Okay. If you were looking down at your chakras from the top of your head, okay, in your system, they are not equal sized. Okay, your crown chakra is the smallest and your root chakra is the biggest. So you would actually see them. Do you remember that kid's toy? Some of you are old enough from the 70s and 80s where it was like plastic rings, you know what I mean? And they were kind of rainbow order, and the top one was the smallest, and then they got bigger, bigger, bigger down the pole that held them. It was a really popular kid's toy when I was a kid. That's kind of what your chakras are like on your spinal column. Okay, is you've got it's different. And I was like, this is an interesting thing for my spirit guides to like want me to talk about because I've never really talked about it this way before. So your crown chakra is small, but it's the fastest, right? And it makes sense, right? The smallest chakra would be the fastest spinning in your energy system. The stacking donuts, that's right. So now you have a good visualization for what this would look like. Then you have your third eye, which is a little bit bigger and slightly slower. Then you have your throat, a little bit bigger, slightly slower. Heart, a little bit bigger, slightly slower. Solar, a little bit bigger, slightly slower. Down, down, down to the root. And then the earth star underneath your, at your feet, which connects your feet chakras to the planet. That is the biggest and the slowest of your chakra, your main chakra system. I know. Who knew? Maybe the people who made the stacking donuts knew. Who knew? Maybe they made the stacking donuts after a crazy ayahuasca journey in the late 60s. I don't know. Anyway, so each one of these is one of your chakras. And so it starts with your crown chakra, which is the smallest one, and that represents thought, right? The third eye represents light, because the pineal gland is where most of the light enters your energy system, right here. The pineal gland that looks like a little pine cone. It's actually part of your brain. Sadly, for most human beings, our pineal glands are not fully functional, and that's largely because of the air we breathe and the food that we eat and the things that we drink, which tend to calcify the pineal gland. So a lot of people, you'll read about people with kind of like decalcification protocols, like foods and drinking only alkaline water and doing things that they say will decalcify the pineal gland. It is like an upside down tornado. Okay, so light enters your energy system primarily here. That's why in so many cultures and traditions, again, nowhere in the West, we don't really do this, but a lot of cultures and traditions greet each other with a bowing of the head and a connecting at the third eye. Have you seen that before? What do they call it? Eskimo kissing, or like they will, instead of coming together and kissing at the mouth, light does enter through your mouth, true, at the throat chakra, but not as much light as what enters through the screen right here. That's why this little space is so important and so sacred. And so a lot of cultures choose to greet each other at that space because it's the light in them acknowledging the light in you, right, and allowing the light to merge. Yeah, really interesting. So that is where the light enters you. Spirit enters you at the throat chakra. Interesting, right? Air enters you at the heart chakra. Depends on which one. Sometimes you'll see air entering different places, but I always think of air as the throat. Fire is the solar plexus, because the solar plexus is named for the sun god Ra. The mantra, the seed mantra of the solar plexus is Ram. So your solar plexus is actually where all the fire, the Agni, the potential is in your energy field. And then we create, so that's where we think of water, because we think of water as the uterus, the bag of water that carries the baby, right? The energy of water, which allows us to create, and then earth, which anchors us at the root chakra. Is that helpful? Does that all make sense? I will, again, you do not need to take notes. My team takes notes for you, so I will take a picture of that. We will draw that for you. Don't scramble to try and sort it out. But I wanted to show it to you tonight so that you could see kind of what I'm talking about. So when we look at our chakras through that lens, the other thing you have to know is that your energetic system is divided into thirds. Okay, so you have your what I call the steering wheel, which is your heart chakra. Okay, your heart chakra is your fourth chakra, and it's the center of your entire energetic being. It drives the bus. You know how people say lead with your heart, not with your head or whatever? That's because the central part of your energy system is not your brain. Your brain is not a chakra, right? Your brain, I was telling this to my son because I'm doing a lot of unteaching with my kids about their thoughts, because they're getting to that age where they're overthinking and it's causing a lot of stress. And so I'm training them about how not to overthink and how to get out of the head and into the heart, because that's the center of your energy field. It's not here. The light comes in through here, but the light is not housed in your brain. Your brain is simply a way station, right, to try and guide the nervous system to activate appropriate responses to stimuli. But your brain is not the storehouse of all wisdom in your body. Your heart really is. So you have your heart here, and then the spirit chakras are the throat, the third eye, and the crown. So spirit enters here, light enters here, understanding enters here. And then the material chakras, through which you activate the inner fire, and through which you create life, or create beauty, or create a home, or whatever it is that you build and create. And then finally the root chakra, which is how you create an anchor to this planet. So all the spirit chakras are the uppers, and you have the steering wheel, and then you have the material, the matter chakras, right, that help you bring your thoughts into form, and those are the bottom three. Is that helpful? Yeah, you're welcome to take notes if it helps you. I mean, I'm kind of the same way. when I take a class, I tend to, have my little chicken scratch, but it is kind of nice having somebody like write the bulk of it down for you so you don't have to scramble to keep up. I do that because in my brain, that makes it hard for me to learn. If I'm trying to remember everything you're saying, I'm not really paying attention. And so as a teacher, it was always my dream to have someone who would take notes for my students so they could just focus with me. And so being able to do that for you is really good. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. My plan is to teach a very brief, like half an hour, 45-minute, maybe an hour session on how to change your thinking. And I want to make it kid-friendly, and I want to make it free. Because what I really want to do is help people now that, society is opening up again, and there's a lot of anxiety about how to interact with people, and we're overthinking our interactions, and we're overthinking pretty much everything at this point. So I want to make this kind of a public, free, 1 hour, here's what I do to avoid overthinking, and partly just to get the conversation going in families too, so that from there you can take it forward. So anyway, I'm going to plan to do something like that in the next couple of weeks. I might record it or I might do it live. We'll see. But I kind of want to put it out there as like a public service thing because I think it's helpful and I think it's needed. It's like we've forgotten that our thoughts are not our allies. A lot of time they're actually saboteurs, right? They're actually undermining our capacity for happiness and for peace. So anyway, that will be a separate thing that I do, and hopefully you'll enjoy that too. It's tough, and I see my kids really struggling with it, and it's like, I originally wanted to do something just to support them, and then they were both like, my friends would benefit from this. I was like, well, maybe I should do something else. It's challenging for them at this age. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to first have a personal experience of this. So I've taught you this before, but I am going to teach you again really quickly because it bears repeating and repeating and repeating. On a nearly daily basis, I take my pendulum and I go through my energy field to see if there's a block. I'm constantly scanning because your pendulum is very accurate, okay? So make sure that your bum's on the floor or it's on the chair so that your root chakra is connected. And then the lowest place you read is going to be reading the root. And then I just let the pendulum go. I try to kind of clear my mind, clear the screen. And clear energy just looks like north-south, direct flow of the pendulum. This is my sacral. And give it a minute because if it's going to change direction, it needs a minute. This is my solar, which has been clear, which is pretty impressive. This is my heart. This is my throat. This is my third eye. And that's my crown. Okay, so right now I don't have a blockage. I usually have an area that'll be a little bit blocked. And it's almost always been my solar plexus because that's my area of work. If you find that you have a blockage, I want to encourage you to work with a sphere to move the energy because spheres radiate their energy in all directions. And one of the cool things about this sphere is that two of the stones in this sphere are quartz bearing. Ocean jasper and the poppy jasper are both forms, and I'll talk more about this before the end of class tonight, both forms of what we call orbicular jasper. They come from different parts of the planet, but orbicular jasper tends to be a form of cryptocrystalline quartz, meaning there's microquartz inclusions in these two kinds of jasper. Some people say poppy jasper isn't jasper, it's chalcedony, but that's a geological conversation that goes on in the background, probably not too important for our purposes today. So this is a quartz-bearing sphere. The reason why that's important to know is quartz is always more capable of tapping into that toroidal flow than any other crystal you can work with, because quartz, again, of all the minerals in the world, silicon dioxide, which is quartz, has the highest resting frequency. And so when you work with quartz, it's always going to move energy more quickly than any other mineral, at least in my experience. So how do you know if it's blocked? Randy's got a blockage at the solar plexus. A blockage, let's show them a blockage, is east-west movement of the pendulum for me, instead of a north-south. And then show blocked. You see a change? And then show clear. It's subtle, but did you see the difference? Is blue apatite quartz based? It can be. I have seen quartz in blue apatite before. I have. A lot of minerals have quartz inclusions, but some do not. And so it just depends on which one you're looking at. Bloodstone, which is another one of my favorites, is a jasper. And so jasper tends to be quartz bearing. So that's another good one to work with. So your jaspers and your chalcedonies most of the time are quartz bearing. Let's see, your throat's blocked. And yours all moved in a circle. So what I would do, if everything moves in a circle, it oftentimes that's a sign that your tool needs a minute to be able to read and calibrate. So I would say stop, take your time, take a breath, and then come back and work through the field again. Because a circle for me, when I'm working with my pendulum, often means that the pendulum is mixed. It doesn't know how to respond. So what I'm going to teach you today is similar to the chakra keys, but it's incorporating this toroidal flow because of the sphere. Remember that the chakra key is a powerful tool, and it's kind of like a lock and a key all at once, right? It can tighten, it can loosen. This can too. But what we're doing when we work with a sphere is we're working with the whole field and not just with the field of that particular chakra. And so that's why this tool, in a way, when you work with a sphere, is even more powerful than a chakra key, because you are in a way connecting the energy with the chakra with the broader toroidal field, if that makes sense. So it's an expansion energy when you work with a sphere, as opposed to a really specific tightening and unlocking of one particular energy center. So it's a little bit bigger work. Now, I will say, sometimes when I work with a sphere, sometimes I get headachy, okay? And that's because you're running big energy through big energy centers, and that can sometimes, for me, manifest in a headache. If you feel yourself get headachy when you're working with spheres, take a break. It's too much energy through the field. Now, what I will tell you is, and the reason I'm approaching our work together tonight the way I am is, if you open all the chakras, you don't tend to get headachy, because then you're opening the central channel and you've got a nice area for the energy to flow through. It's when you're working in one area and the whole channel isn't open that you can actually start to feel achy, because too much energy is coming in, but it doesn't have a clear enough course to flow through. So that's why I'm approaching tonight, trying to open all the energy centers first so that we create a nice open channel for the energy to flow, and then you're not going to experience what I sometimes get, which is a little bit headachy. It's not intense, it's not like a migraine, but it just feels a little achy and dull afterward, and you don't want that feeling. And if a client ever tells you that, that's a crown chakra hangover. It really is. The headache is always a symbol that you had too much energy running and you didn't have a wide enough channel to support it. So working with copper, shadokite, chrysocolla, malachite, turquoise, any of the ores of copper, cuprite's really good for this. Like, you know, we always have like tumbled pieces of this. But even just working with, you know, one piece of malachite in each hand can also help you to run the frequency a little bit more easily, because these are stones that open the central channel. Remember that copper conducts your energy. Chakra keys were Soul Shift 3 months ago. I always screw up the months, just so you know, because time is not easy for me. So it may have been not 3 months ago. You get headaches all the time. So let's see how you go today. Hopefully today's experience is going to be pretty easy on you, because I'm going to try to open all the chakras first. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to teach you and I've taught you this before in different classes in different contexts, but it always bears repeating, is that each one of the chakras has what we call a seed mantra, a bija mantra. And I want you to, as I read them off to you, I want you to think about which one of these mantras is most important for you right now, because you have a chakra, we all have a chakra that is the focus, right? For me, usually it's my sacral or my solar plexus chakra. Sometimes it's my root. My upper chakras tend to be pretty open and flowing. And I have had better health since I've started to see my solar plexus chakra clearing. I was having some digestive issues earlier in the year, and that's resolved. So a lot of times your physical health can also indicate where you have a blockage. You know what I mean? If you have digestive stuff going on, a lot of times that's connected to that. Chakra, so there isn't one chakra for inflammation in general, but inflammation in any part of the body can be energetic, because inflammation is just blocked energy. That's what causes swelling, right? And not just physical swelling on the outside, but swelling inside of the tissue too. So like when my sacral chakra was blocked, I would have digestive problems. And I knew as soon as I unblocked it and got the energy flowing that my digestion would improve. And that has been the case for me. So throat chakra will show up with, sore throats or swollen lymph glands or other things like that. Or you'll get the kind of funky front headaches when your third eye is blocked, right? Where you'll get the really top and back headaches when your crown chakra is blocked. People will have, reproductive disorders and issues when their sacral chakra is blocked. And then the upper digestive system is aligned with the solar plexus. The lower digestive system, including the rectum, is associated with the root chakra. So somebody who's got a solar plexus issue might have small intestine issues, and somebody with root chakra issues might have more of rectal issues or ulcerative proctitis, which is an inflammation of the very, very lowest part of the intestine too. So migraines depends on where it is, because like I said, the pain of the head has different bearing on different energy centers. So if it's the top of the head and the back, it's usually crown. And if it's those little shitty, the shitty little, I call them horn headaches, where it feels like there's a little horn sticking out of your head because it's in the front. That tends to be the third eye. Okay, so, and all of these are connected to mental health. All of them are, including the solar plexus, right? So right now I'm focusing more on the physical manifestations, but in terms of how this shows up in mood and in your thought process and in your capacity to organize thoughts and information, all of these things are interconnected as well too. Yeah. Okay, so the crown chakra, the mantra, the seed mantra for the crown chakra. So if you're a top of the head person, if you tend to get those top and back migraines, is Om, O-M, Om, which is the sound of the name of God in Sanskrit, right? So Om is kind of the universal. And some people say that Om is for the third eye too. The other one for third eye is Sham, S-H-A-M, Sham. So Om. And then you can also say Om here, or you can say Sham, S-H-A-M. And then for the throat chakra, it's Ham. Why is it Ham? Ham is a root word in Arabic and a few other languages too that means 5. And if you think about it, your throat chakra is your 5th chakra. So I'll give you these little tidbits to help you remember. So Ham, which means 5, is your throat chakra. Your heart chakra, is Yam. Your solar plexus is Ram. Your sacral is Vam. And your root chakra is Lam. Yeah, so crown is Om. Third eye is Sham. Throat is Ham. H-A-M. Looks like ham, but it's Ham. And then your heart is Yam, like Hamza, right? That's right. So Ham is the 5th chakra, and you can think Hamza, which means 5 in Arabic. And the Hamza has 5 fingers, right? And that's why, because it's Ham means 5. Interesting, right? And then Yam for the heart, Ram, remember, because the sun god Ra. So you have Ram for your solar plexus, and then Vam is the sacral, and Lam, Lam, is the root. Yeah, it's spelled Yam, Ida, but it's pronounced Yam. So the pink chakra is your heart chakra, and that's your Yam chakra. That's your Yam chakra. And then Lam is the root. Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Sham, Om. And so in true form, we would recite each one of those 108 times to open all the energy centers. Today we're going to open the energy centers with our sphere. But you can also open your energy centers just by reciting the bija mantras, the seed mantras. That's the other way you can do that. Okay, so I want to take a few minutes and I want to teach you about your stone. And then I want to do some work with Charlotta and with you to get your energy centers open. Isn't it interesting? Sham, Ram, Vam, Lam for you. And just recite it all the time. Ram, 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 Ram. Put your hand over it. Ram, 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 Ram. Feels good. Remember to use your left hand, right? Does that allow you to receive that energy? Your right hand sends it. So if you're healing someone else, you know, when I'm working on Charlotta, you're going to see me working with my right hand, because that is me channeling energy through, and then my left hand is allowing me to receive. So everything, all the jewelry you wear on your left hand's for you, all the jewelry you wear on your right hand is for other people. I always think of these as like gifts. You know, like this is what I'm sending out today. Yeah. Yeah, Yam looks like a heart. That's a great way of, Melanie, of remembering it. I think that's really smart. Well, we have these little mnemonics now and these little tools to help us remember them too. Yeah. If you're holding your crystal duo, how do you count? Carefully. Usually when I recite mantra, I have a mala, which has 108 beads, you know, to represent the number of times you say it. So the quickest answer for why 108 times is the Sri Yantra. The Sri Yantra in the, you know, in many traditions, I should say, but especially the Buddhist tradition, is considered one of the most important of these sacred geometric shapes, and it has 54 lines. And each one of those 54 lines has a double, has a twin. So there are 54 masculine lines in the Sri Yantra, and there are 54 feminine lines in the Sri Yantra, and 54 plus 54 is 108. So when you, it actually makes me emotional, I don't know why, but I love the Sri Yantra so much. Have you seen it before? Yeah, when we're done tonight, if you want to see it, I have a little metal plate in my cabinet here that I can show you with the Sri Yantra. You can Google it. But when you say something 108 times, it's literally you tracing your finger over that Sri Yantra, one time for each of the masculine energies and one time for each of the feminine energies. Yeah. And so so it's believed, extending from that theory, that you have 108 energy centers in your physical body, because you have 54 lines of energy that correspond to the masculine and 54 lines of energy in your body that correspond to the masculine. Yeah, so just remind me and I'll go get it out tonight and you can see. I mean, it's nothing special. I don't want you to get excited, but it does show you the shape, and then you can actually see the 54. Yeah, so technically there are 108 energy centers in your body, to Sour to the Void's point, and 54 of them are masculine and 54 of them are feminine, which is why when we are in true balance, right, we are in our masculine and in our feminine. We're embracing the duality. And so the other theory is, and I believe this to be true, that when you recite a sacred mantra or a power word for yourself 108 times, they say that every cell in your body opens to receive it. So if it's a healing mantra and you say it 108 times, you literally are sending that energy of that word and that healing into every single cell in your body. And Sanskrit's a holy language, right? So that's why one of the reasons I love the bija mantras, because those are Sanskrit words for you. They're as old as time, right? Those words come to us from the Rig Veda, which is really the oldest spiritual text on the planet. And so I love the idea that we're sort of pushing these very sacred energies through every cell in our body. And I think it makes a difference. And what I always say is it can't hurt. You know what I mean? To recite these sacred mantras can't hurt you. So why not? And I always feel more grounded. We did a Yam challenge last year in Soul Shift. Do you remember at the beginning of the pandemic where I went live quite often with them over the course of 1 month to just say Yam together, opening our heart chakra 108 times because the planet was in such a weird place. And so we would just sit and Yam together 108 times. Yam, 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 Yam. And I would ask them, as you're yamming, if someone pops into your mind, send them love, right? Because if you're reciting a mantra and someone comes into your mind, it must be because they're connecting with you on that energetic level. So I'm glad this is helpful for you. I know the Yam challenge, part of me wants to do it again. I really did enjoy it when we did that together last year. That's exactly right. Okay, so let's talk about the stones in your sphere, and then we'll play with your sphere. I think this is such a cool sphere. What I like about it is they used really nice quality of these stones. Like there's really beautiful ocean jasper in yours and the poppy jasper, which is brecciated. And I'll explain what that means in just a second, which makes it a little bit different than a lot of the poppy jasper that you see out there. It's also sometimes known as plumite jasper, depending on where you see it. You liked yamming with me too. Okay, so we're going to start with the ocean jasper, which is the more green, could be kind of gold, side of your stone, and then in the middle you have sunstone, and on the other side you have your brecciated poppy jasper. So we're starting over here with the ocean jasper. Ocean jasper and poppy jasper both come to us from Madagascar, and one of the reasons I think that's interesting, Madagascar is thought to be an Atlantean place, and I think there is big magic there. And you might look at me and go, really? How did they get from, you know, kind of off the coast of Florida, which is where we think Atlantis was primarily, in the Atlantic there, right? In the South Atlantic. How did they get, so if you almost draw, it's not quite a straight line, but from Florida, you know, if you cross Africa, right? I'm trying to do this in a way that makes sense. If you're looking at it from my direction, if you're at Florida and you cross the African continent and go down south a little bit, you're down here at Madagascar. And then if you draw a slight line north, you're at Tibet. And we know that Tibet is Atlantean. A lot of the Atlanteans fled to Egypt, which makes perfect sense because that's almost a direct line, you know, just going sort of due north and east. So it's not that far-fetched. If we believe the Atlanteans fled primarily to Egypt, which is what a lot of us believe, it's not that far-fetched to think that they would go slightly south and a little bit, you know, more tropical to get to Madagascar, or slightly north, right, and east again to get to Tibet. So we think of Madagascar as being an Atlantean place, right? But it's, you kind of have to not look at your maps through a modern mindset. Sometimes you have to look at them through what the landforms would have looked like 13,000 years ago, which would be kind of different than it is today, right? And Pangaea too. There's a lot of places, and I will tell you, one of my favorite things to talk about, it's not what we're talking about tonight, but I see Lemurian lines sometimes in stones from China, in stones from Tibet. I've seen a lot of them in Himalayan quartz. You probably have too. I've seen them in African stones, and so it's like, couldn't there have been other forms of wisdom that were encrypted into these crystals, right? Not just the priests and priestesses of Lemuria, but maybe the Atlanteans who were on the heels, right, of Lemuria, would have also known how to encode some of their wisdom into the crystals too. Because that's, I often get asked that question, like, hey, you know what? There's Lemurian lines on this stone that I know is not from Brazil. Couldn't it be possible, right? Ooh, I want to see yours. Kathleen said her ocean jasper is mostly red. That's actually my favorite color of ocean jasper. The reds and the pinks are like my favorite. So maybe you can post a picture in our Facebook group because I'd really like to see it, because that probably looks really interesting with the poppy jasper on the other side. Isn't that interesting? I'm Arcturian too, but I think I came in after the Lemurians did. I waited for Atlantis. At least that's what I think to be true. None of us really know. It's all kind of our best guess, right? Okay, so 2 stones from Madagascar, 1 from India. Okay, so you've got, and this is northern India, so you're approaching Tibetan town. So I would call this an Atlantean sphere, because Madagascar plus India, right, is the Himalayan ridge, which is where this is very close to. Those are, for me, very much Atlantean territories. Now, what's interesting about ocean jasper, which is the top stone, which again, ocean jasper grows in every color of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green. There are shades of blue, purple, pink, and then you'll find brown and white in ocean jasper, and kind of every tone in between, and they're all normal. Here's what I want to tell you. Ocean jasper, when it was first discovered, could only be mined at low tide. It was literally underwater most of the time. And the first people who really started to mine and bring to market the ocean jasper were women. It was a completely female-dominated industry for quite a long time. That has shifted and changed a little bit, and they have found new pockets of ocean jasper in different places. But it still comes primarily, and you got to know Madagascar is, it is surrounded by water. So of course there's a lot of water to be found. But I think it's really cool that it comes from the ocean, and that's where the name came from. Like, what are we going to call it? Well, it comes from the ocean. It's ocean jasper. Ocean jasper, so every stone in this mix is a stone of expanded awareness. Now I'm going to call that happiness, okay? But the reason I'm calling it and focusing more on expanded awareness than happiness is, happiness in my experience is a very fleeting emotion. But expanded awareness is not. And if you have an expanded awareness, you tend to be happier. Expanded awareness meaning seeing that there's more to the world than you, that there are other problems bigger than yours, right? That other people are like you, you're not all alone, right? This is what leads me to happiness, and these stones bring that energy. But they do it in slightly different ways. So ocean jasper teaches you to be at peace with what is, okay, and to create space and to create presence, exactly, Kaisha, to allow yourself to be more fully immersed in this moment. And it's got a ton of water energy to it, so it helps you to process the emotions that might be keeping you blocked or stuck, right? So so by moving the energy through with that water energy from a water mine, which is where the stone comes from, and because there's quartz in the matrix of ocean jasper, as we discussed earlier, you have this expanded ability to process emotions and run energy without creating blockages and restraints. And so that's why I thought, what a great stone for part of this, right? If the sphere is intended to move the energy and open your awareness to new possibilities. Ocean jasper had been mined out, and almost, I should say. I mean, there was very little of it happening. It was a couple of years ago in, was it Denver or Tucson, where I was looking for it and not finding it. There was almost none. And then the next year, there was quite a bit, and it was really nice quality. I want to say it was the year I came to the Boston show. Some of you guys were there when I was in, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name of that show. The really fun one in Boston. It's always on my birthday. It's always on August 9th. Anyway, that show was where one of my friends from Madagascar came up to me and gave me a birthday gift. And it's ocean jasper. I have it here in my cabinet. And he's like, Athena, I want you to be one of the first people to get a piece of this new pocket. And it's mostly green. This new pocket they found is like mostly this color. But it's cool. They hadn't found so much of this really dark, vibrant green. So this is probably part of the newer material that came out of Springfield. That's right. So anyway, they had just found a new pocket of this. And the green that they found had tons of quartz inclusions, like rivers of quartz through it. And so the new pocket that they found, which I want to say was a year before that, so maybe that was 3.5 years ago now, more heavily quartz included. And again, jaspers are microcrystalline forms of quartz, so they all have quartz inclusions in them. But yeah, so anyway, you'll see all different colors, but if you have more of the green, it could be more of the more current run that they're experiencing. What else do I want to tell you about this one? Renewal, mystic knowledge, encouraging positive partnerships, positive forms of self-expression. Okay. Now, you have a druzy in yours, Carrie? The druzys are cool. Those are those little microcrystalline, quartz rivers that go through them sometimes. So if you got one of those, that's Lucky Duck Town. Mm-hmm. Yep, okay. And then the centerpiece, this band right here, is your sunstone. So there's your ocean jasper. They call it orbicular jasper because it has orbits on it that look like eyes, right? And then the center of it is your sunstone. Sunstone grows with black tourmaline. So see the little black bits and bobs right there? That's black tourmaline. Also known as schorl, which is the most protective mineral on the planet. And the reason sunstone is in here, sunstone is also known as golden feldspar, right? Sunstone is associated with the sun god Ra. And so what it does is it activates the solar plexus. Ocean jasper activates mostly the heart, the heart chakra. Your sunstone activates mostly the sacral, and then the poppy jasper, the brecciated poppy jasper, activates mostly the root and the earth star. Now, go with me on a little bit of a technical journey for a second. Sunstone is known as orthoclase. Now, this is a little personal theory I have. I don't have any proof of this to share with you, but this stone, for me, sunstone, is a massive healer because the amount of potassium in sunstone is very high. Some of your stones have more of certain minerals. Some of them have more potassium, more magnesium, more copper, and I think it has an impact on crystal healing. Now, some people may say, well, that sounds far-fetched. Some people might say, well, no, doesn't it make sense if a stone has a really high concentration of a mineral like potassium? And potassium is what tells your cells how to function. Have you ever been low in potassium? Because I have in the past, and it doesn't feel good. Your muscles ache, you contract, right? It leads to physical pain. And so having an extra dose of potassium, I think there's a connection between the power of the stone to expand your energy field, because everybody agrees with that about sunstone. It's a stone of leadership and expanded consciousness and all of that. But I think the high potassium content in your orthoclase, which is a form of orthoclase. Albite is another form of orthoclase. We had those albite tumbles with pink tourmaline at Sage Goddess this week. That's another stone very high in potassium, lots of heart chakra medicine, so that would be a really good physical healer of the heart. So anytime you see orthoclase, right? Sunstone is a member of the feldspar family. Sunstone is feldspar. So, right, so all the feldspars, you think of moonstone as a feldspar, larvikite's a feldspar, amazonite is a member of the feldspar family, right? Well, I think, Katie, you're right. She's like, it's why lepidolite works. It's the lithium. But there is people will go on that journey with me on lepidolite with lithium, but then as soon as I say, well, what about nickel in garnerite, or what about potassium in your albite and your orthoclase, or what about the copper in your cooperite? And it's like, they don't want to go for that journey. But I think the mineral content, think about the chlorite in our quartz, right? Because chlorite's a massive physical healer. It regenerates. So anyway, off my soapbox now. So sunstone is your sacral chakra. That's what it's doing. So what it's doing is it's regenerating your energy center for creative expression. So sunstone is that get up off your chair and do it. You know what I mean? It's a really good stone for pushing you past creative obstacles, if you've lost inspiration, if you're waiting for somebody else to do it, if you're waiting for it to get easier. Like, sunstone is the right stone to work with for all of those energies, right? I'm with you, Jimmy. Spectralite is beautiful. Have I taught you the difference between spectralite and labradorite? It's actually kind of a fascinating thing. If you already know it, we don't have to talk about it, but it's one of those things that I learned over the course of just meeting, miners and people who gather the stones all over the world and hearing these really interesting stories. The green in your sunstone is most likely tourmaline. Remember, Hillary, that the black is tourmaline. in your sunstone. I can't remember if I said that earlier or not. I think yeah, I did. When I was turning it around, remember I pointed out the black tourmaline. So all of the tourmalines grow with sunstone. But anyway, it's a fascinating conversation about spectrolite. So spectrolite, really quickly, spectrolite and labradorite are both forms of feldspar that have all those colors in them, right? We had labradorite today at Sage Goddess. So spectrolite, though, evidences the entire light spectrum. So it goes from red to violet, whereas labradorite tends to only display in the orange range through the yellow, green, and into the blue. Okay, so when you see pinks and bright reds and purples in your labradorite, it's usually spectrolite. But why is that? Well, the reason is that in spectrolite, the color in the stone, that rainbow effect, is really on the surface of the stone. So it evidences more of the color waves because of the way light refracts against the top of the stone. In labradorite, the colors are more deep inside the stone. So when they cut them, you're still only seeing part of the refraction of the light, so you're not seeing the entire spectrum. Does that make sense? So spectrolite is more at the surface, and labradorite, the colors are deeper in. So it's harder to get all of that flash and color. However, purple and the spectrolite is more rare than labradorite, which is more common. So yeah, isn't it beautiful? I love it too. Okay, so that was a fun digression. I love going down those little rabbit holes of things, and because it's like when you learn something like that, it makes so much sense when you look at the stones and you see them and the differences and the cuts and why is this flashy and that's not flashy and all of that. Okay. There's one Native American legend where the blood of a wounded warrior fell onto the ground, and the sunstone was said to have grown where his blood fell, and that it raised his warrior spirit back to life. It's fun little stories. Vikings used sunstone and also selenite because of how they refract light to help guide them through their journeys when they didn't have a lot of sunlight. So they had to work with less clear forms of light. And we know that the Vikings had sunstone because they had iolite. And sunstone and iolite grow together. Yeah. Okay, now the last stone in your mix is your poppy jasper. Like I said, also known sometimes as plumite, Plumite. You'll see it that way too. That's another orbicular jasper that comes from Madagascar. Now, this is brecciated poppy jasper, and brecciated stones, Brecciated, when you see brecciated mookaite, brecciated red jasper, which we've had before, brecciated plumite, which we have in your sphere here tonight, the breccia are basically a shattering. What happens is this stone, when a stone is brecciated, a lot of times it's because of seismic activity. An earthquake will shatter a stone as it's growing in the earth, and so we call that brecciated. So they're often considered more powerful stones because they've been subject to some kind of big quake, if you will. And so the movement of the earth affects the formation of the mineral structure, and so you end up with these kind of fracture lines. Sassy's asking, why am I so dizzy holding this sphere? It's a lot of energy. There's a lot of quartz in the matrix with all of these really powerhouse stones. What I would recommend you do, if you ever feel overwhelmed holding a crystal, put the crystal down, rub your hands together really vigorously, and then find your closest pathway to earth and put the palms of your hands face down, whether it's on the carpet, like mine are on the carpet, or put them against a wall. But you will balance the energy in your system by rubbing your palms together. Again, yin yang, you're balancing the polarity, and then anchoring the frequency by grounding it into the closest form of earth. It will help you a lot. Okay. This stone is for relaxation. It eases stress and conflict. It also aligns the chakras almost as well as blue kyanite. But it has other metaphysical properties too. So one of the reasons I chose this is I wanted to do a chakra aligning experience with you tonight, and balancing and healing. And I thought, what a cool stone, because it has all these other additional metaphysical properties, but it's also one of the best stones for balancing and aligning the chakras in your central channel. This has quartz in it too, so it's a good one for the centerpiece of grids. There's hematite in this, in your brecciated poppy jasper. And one of the things that's really good for is anchoring your energies, keeping you grounded. I didn't want to do an upper chakra sphere for you, candidly, because most crystal healers I know have their upper chakras on lock. You know what I mean? They're good, they're clear, they're open, they're good channels, they're good, they know how to, be intuitive, but their lower chakras are usually not balanced, not aligned, they're not grounded. And part of my work in the world is helping empaths become more grounded so that they can manage their energy more effectively and not become overwhelmed or drained or burned out. Because most empaths are really good at doing what they do for a year or two, maybe up to 5 years. But after that, they're too tired to do it because they haven't learned how to manage the energy, so they burn out and they do something else. And then they come back and they do something else, and they come back and they do something else. But it tends not to be a consistent process. And I want to see people doing healing work for their whole lives and feeling really good while they do it, so that it's a sustainable track for them. Hematite is red. That's where the name comes from. The name hematite comes from the Greek word hematois, which means looks like blood. So, yeah. The hematite in yours, some of yours will look more gray-black or like flashy kind of silvery, and some of the hematite in yours will look more red. Pretty cool, right? And I have white in mine too. They're all jaspers, by the way, except for hematite. So you're going to have white jasper, black jasper, red jasper, and then hematite. The hematite in this was largely a function of the seismic shift that led to the brecciated patterning in it. Are you burning out? Well, hopefully if you are burning out, hopefully taking classes energizes you. Whenever I take a class, like I'm taking a class with someone tomorrow that I love, that just it's like a shot in the arm, you know what I mean? So feel your well, learn how to run the energy. Tonight's exercise will really help you if you're feeling burned out. The other thing I want to tell you about the brecciated poppy jasper, it absorbs negative energy and holds it. However, I do want to give you the caveat. I really do want you to keep this stone clear. Okay, these are not self-cleansing stones. Selenite cleans itself. Black kyanite cleans itself. In my experience, I've had a few stones. Shungite tends to keep itself pretty clear. This is not going to keep itself clear. So after we're done with our work together tonight, I'd like to see you, my favorite way to clear a stone. First of all, sound can clear a stone. So you can put it in a crystal singing bowl, you can touch a tuning fork to it. But the easiest way to clear a stone is just to take the smallest leaf of white sage or just the edge of Palo Santo and just run it through the smoke. And just like that, and it's done. It's not like it has to be some big production. But this is the kind of stone that will hold the energy. It's going to hold it away from you, but I don't know that you want to keep, running this through other people's fields. Burnout is very common, and by the way, we're burned out as a human species right now. We really are. So I think crystal healing and energy healing has never been more important. Everybody's burned out right now. Even the most passionate people are burned out. Because it's been a lot. Being human has been harder this year than it's ever been, in my experience, in my 50 years, right? 48 years. So it's what I hear from people all day, every day is, oh my God, what do I do? I'm exhausted, and I'm not even doing that much, So anyway, hang tight. I think it will get better. And in the meantime, we learn how to work with our tools and we learn our processes. Okay, so if you want, you can, I would recommend kind of watching me, and then I'm going to teach you how you can also do this work on yourself too. And remember that whenever you work with crystals, I'm going to back way up for a minute, so hopefully you'll be able to still hear me. Whenever you work with crystals, I need you to be able to see Charlotta. Come here, darling. Whenever you work with crystals, remember that, again, they have a 12-inch energy field and you have a 12-inch energy field. So crystal healing does not have to be done on the body. And the other thing I wanted to tell you, let me go get a wand really quick to do this other exercise with. Because I've been doing a lot of remote work during the pandemic for people. And not in a formal way, but people will say, you know, I'm really having this pain. Can you just do some remote healing for me? The way I like to do remote healing is using a proxy like this. And some people just draw a figure on a piece of paper and then work on it, as if it is the other person's energy field. And so what I will do is I'll do I need to think of my sides. The sending with my right hand and the healing with the left. So I'm calling in the energy for this person by working on the body with my left hand, and I'm sending the energy with my right hand so that the person can feel it from where we are. And again, I'm in the energy field here. I'm within 12 inches. And then what I will do is I will come within 12 inches of my phone or my computer, wherever I've got the person on the line. And then what they can do is extend their own quartz wand toward the phone or the screen so that those energies connect, and then they can receive it that way. So you may want to have a wand if you're doing this virtually or remotely for someone, because that's the easiest way to send and receive. Double terminated wands are transmitters of energy. So what I want to do is just take a moment to center ourselves before we begin our process. And just a quick calling in of the guides and guardians, because, you know, this does not have to be anything intense. We're not doing a full ceremony, but because we are working with energy, I like to have a good clear field that's held. So I want to call in and thank the guides and the guardians of the East for bringing in clear passage of energy, new ideas, new beginnings, new pathways for healing tonight. I want to thank and invite in the guides and the guardians of the South to empower our healing process tonight, to help us create transformation. I want to welcome in and thank the guides and the guardians of the West for emotional healing, for helping us release energy that isn't serving us. And I want to thank and welcome in the guides and the guardians of the North for helping to ground us, to keep us safe as we do our healing work, to help us be present and mindful and aware, to be good channels. And we give thanks for the energy that's held on our behalf. Now there's a lot of things you can do, and I'm half tempted sometimes to go and run you through everything. Like I've taught you over the year and a half how to use your extractor needles to start to prepare the body for energy work, which would be, you know, using the extractor needle on the palms of the hands, on the soles of the feet. You know, if Charlotta was laying here, I probably would put an eye pillow over, something kind of warm with some good essential oils. And I would want to prepare her body to receive the energies by activating. And the reason we activate the top of the head, the palms of the hands, and the soles of the feet first is that that's where the human body releases energy. And so we know that when we start to move the energy through her field, she's going to release it there, she's going to release it there, and she's going to release it through the top of the head. So that's one thing to keep in mind. All the things that I've taught you over the years are still really valuable, and you should incorporate them even though we're focusing tonight on the sphere. But those other tools still come into play and are very helpful anytime you're doing a crystal healing session. Now, one of the things I like to do too when I'm working with a sphere is recognizing that I have an energy field and she has an energy field. It's nice to bring the energy of the sphere into my field first in a complete circle, and then to bring the energy of the sphere around her. If she was a full-size human, I'd want to just physically walk around her. And that connects the energy of the sphere into my field and also into her field. And then what I would do for this exercise, I'm going to work on all 7 chakras with the sphere today, but I still would want to do an analysis to just run over her chakras and see if there's a blockage. For me, it's just a standard protocol in a healing session because you know, if the customer or the client comes to me and says, you know, my thyroid's bothering me, or, you know, I'm having chest pain, or my digestion is really off, I want to validate all of that energetically by saying, you know, I see that it is showing a blockage at the heart, which is, you know, chest pain will often be a sign of a heart chakra blockage, or it's showing blockage at the solar plexus. And just to get that conversation going, and also just to have that energetic validation too, like, yeah, I'm seeing that, or, you know, I'm having trouble going to the bathroom, or bladder issues, right? And kind of seeing if that is showing up energetically as a sign. And then, but when I'm doing a whole treatment with a sphere, I like to work on every chakra, to open every chakra. Because again, if we start focusing on one chakra in particular and the rest of the column is not open, she could end up leaving with a headache. Because we're trying to run energy through the system, and if the system is even narrowed, maybe it's not blocked, but it's narrowed, that's going to make it harder for the energy to run and flow through smoothly. So what I'm going to do as a crystal healer, and you can either do this on the body or you can do it above the body, is I'm going to come through, and it feels better to do it on the body. At the root chakra, by the way, there's a couple of different ways to do this. You can have the client laying with their legs closed, and you can go just below the groin to this space right here and work here. Obviously, I don't expect that you're going to go into someone's perineum during a crystal healing session and really give them the business. Now, I mean, maybe you know this person really well, and maybe you want to know this person really well. I still find that my friends resist me really working on the perineum. Most of them. There's always the one friend who's like, get it. Get in there, girl. But most people prefer just to have sort of a more delicate handling of the lower chakras, if you will. On yourself, though, I do recommend that you kind of go there, right? Remember that, and you guys may already know this, but remember that you have two really powerful energy centers, the perineum and the top of your head, right? And these are both places in your body. They're the last of your physical centers to close to spirit, right? They have the soft spot. My babies both had their soft spots for like first year, I think, right? Before the plates close here. And the perineum has the same process where it closes later, right? So that is really where the soul enters and exits your body. So we don't want to not pay attention to the root chakra, especially your root chakra. If you're doing your own crystal healing, you can get your sphere in there and, you know, take her for a ride. Take it for a ride. Pants on perineum is all good, right? I mean, I don't do crystal healing sessions where it's pants off perineum. Is that a new hashtag for us? Pants on perineum? Who knew what you were going to learn today in Crystal Masters, everybody? Keep it exciting over here. Okay, so I generally like to work root to crown. And so what you want to do is you have to remember how the energy is flowing through this sphere, right? And how this energy is flowing through their body. And what you basically want to do is bring the energy of the sphere to the chakra and work with the flow of the energy. And it's very much like what I taught you with the keys. So, and you can also think about working with different edges of these bonded spheres. Maybe you want to, at the root, maybe you want to work more with the poppy jasper, right? Because that's got the hematite, which is going to be more stimulating to the root chakra. And so working clockwise, now again, if you don't want to touch the client, you can work above the field, right? So you can turn this sphere as you're in the field. The field of this stone is touching her field right now because we're within the 24 inches. So if you have a client who's like, I'm interested in this, don't touch me, and you will have clients like that. You can stay at the top of their field. Most people want to be touched though, and they want the connection with the crystals. And then at the sacral chakra, I'm going to turn the stone, still working clockwise because we're opening the energy center, but I want that contact of that sunstone on the sacral chakra. So again, moving clockwise. Now, you can also always use your pendulum as a check. It's a little tricky to do it one-handed, but your pendulum will tell you when the energy has run clear, meaning when you're done, right? So it's like, and you can tell your pendulum to tell you, like, show me no, or show me no for stop, right? So when is the energy clear? And wait for it to show you. A lot of times on the mannequin, I'm not going to get an accurate read because it's not an actual human being. So making contact there. Now with the solar plexus, you have another choice to make. If the person is actively concerned about healing the solar plexus, I might want to go in with my ocean jasper to turn this particular wheel. You might also find yourself wanting to turn it the other way. So you can go clockwise this way, you can also go clockwise this way, and see what feels best. Now I will tell you, if you're applying this to the body, it feels really good. This is a massage. And you can also incorporate oils into this. You know, you can anoint this sphere with oils and then rub on the skin. It feels really, really good. Or you can turn this way. At the heart chakra, I'm going to encourage you to just stay on the ocean jasper. That is a great heart chakra stone. And at the this is such an easy one to do on yourself. It feels really good. And you can feel the energy center opening. And you can use it almost like a massage tool. You don't have to physically turn it. You can make actual circles on the body if that feels better. Again, you're working with that toroidal flow. It feels really good. So there's no wrong way to do it unless you're working counterclockwise, which we're not trying to do that right now. Right now we're trying to open the centers and align them with the energy of this particular tool. Now at the throat chakra, again, if the person feels like there's a throat chakra blockage, you might want all three stones to make contact there. The ocean jasper will heal it, the sunstone will empower it, and the poppy jasper will anchor it so that they feel safe to express and communicate. And then at the third eye, again, you can decide how you want to work the energy. Sometimes it's nice just to do a little gentle rubbing at the third eye. Again, you can turn it at the third eye if you want. You will straight put someone to sleep doing this. It feels really good. It feels really good. And then the same thing at the crown. You can just move in small circles. Remember I showed you that top down? So these chakras are really small. They're like, your crown chakra is like that. And your third eye, well, actually your crown is like that. And your third eye is about like that. And then your throat is like that. I mean, these are little tiny chakras. So when you're working, you don't have to make these big sweeping circles. This is just a little bit of an adjustment. The heart chakra gets a little bit bigger. Solar plexus is more like that big. Sacral gets a little bit bigger. And then your root chakra is really the biggest of your discs that encompasses your connection to the planet. Is it okay to apply all three crystals to each chakra? Yes. So when you use the sphere, do you work from the root up or does it not matter? Root up is just kind of my jam. You can definitely go crown down. And I don't think it really, really matters. Also, if the person has a preference, and sometimes if you have somebody who's really nervous, and you start right at their patootie, you know, it can make them a little anxious. So sometimes if you have a client who's kind of new to the process, it's sometimes better to start them with these really gentle movements. And sometimes I'll bring it down over the side of the face. And when I get to the throat, I like to also bring it up the neck too, because that'll result in a really gentle lymphatic drainage, which can be really healing too. And then you can bring it back up, and circle around and bring it back down and up over the neck. Again, just feels really good. When you have a sphere, that's the nice thing about a sphere as a massage tool, right? Is that you can really work the energies that way. It becomes almost like a therapeutic treatment on a lot of different levels. And you're also massaging and encouraging circulation. And then you bring it down to the heart. And then when you get here, sometimes those nice wide circles feel really good, you know what I mean? Because you're I mean, think about it, how good it would feel just to sort of massage your digestive tract. And so that can feel really good. Getting into the sacral region, which is right between the ovaries and the testes, that feels nice for a massage too. And then what you can do is you can bring the sphere down over the legs, which kind of encompasses the root region too. And like I said, you can, keep the client's legs closed and just go over the top of the legs, which it'll get you within 12 inches of the perineum. You don't have to be right up on it. It's much easier to access the soft spot here than it is to access the soft spot there. See, Saya would go for it, and that's why I would love to work on you. She'd be like, do it, honey. And I'd be like, I'll see you in half an hour. Take a nap. I'll let you know when we're done. Maybe Teresa Jolly had a great question. She said, do you think that you would start in the crown with an air sign because they're thinking too much? I would start at the crown with somebody who's new. I would. Aside from massage, how is this different from using a Vogel on them? It's a great question. Here's a Vogel, right? These are the Sunstone Vogels that we have in the shop today. For me, a Vogel is a very different tool, and I'll explain why. Vogels are double terminated wands. They send and receive. It is a line of energy. It is not a loop of energy. A sphere is the only shape that includes the toroidal field, so it includes the entire energy field within it. So this is like a laser beam, and this is like a diffuser, if you will. So let's say this person had, really traumatic heartbreak, and there was what we call a contraction there. So she's got pain, she's got chest pain. We think it's connected to heartbreak. We want to extract some of that energy. You're not going to be able to extract with a sphere. Not the same way. A Vogel is a very specific tool with a wider end and a more narrow end to go in and gather energy and release. Gather, release. Gather, release. Gather, release. A sphere can gather the energy, but it's very difficult to release energy with a sphere. Does that make sense? So for me, it's kind of apples and oranges. Now, probably the most versatile tool you can ever have in terms of energy work, if you want a one-stop shop, is a single terminated massage wand with a rounded end or an extractor needle. Because those you can go in and gather and release, but you can also do a lot of the body work I'm showing you. The difference is you don't have the expansion of the energy the way you do with a sphere. And that's why I just want you to experiment. A lot of you already have spheres in your collection. My dream for this class is that it inspires you to go back to your collection and start working with your spheres again. Like even for me today, I stopped and I went, okay, my selenite sphere. I haven't been working with this enough. And this was a gift from one of my students. So yeah, once a day I should be passing this through my energy field to just clear myself, right? Or I was looking at my one of my quartz spheres, and it's like, yeah, you know what? I should, and I haven't been, when I'm setting intentions or when I'm manifesting or when I'm focusing on what I want to create, I should be holding a sphere, right, to call that energy in my left hand. So I should be writing my intentions with my right hand and holding a sphere to call in all the vibrations of that intention or that manifestation from the entire universe. But am I doing that all the time? No. So even for me, today was like me going back through my collection going, I don't do that. I know better. You know what I mean? So but I will tell you, this sphere is a great one if it's your one and only, because it's got quartz in it. So you can do the same thing I just described to you with this, because it has a quartz matrix. It's got healing, it's got grounding, and it's got empowerment energies in it. It's got strengthening energies in it. It also has the potassium in the sunstone as an orthoclase-based mineral. So that's going to help you to create a lot of healing and regeneration energies in the system too. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so these are all complementary modalities, right? Does someone need to be on the ground to work with a Vogel? No, I usually do most of my crystal healing work on a massage table. So I just don't have my massage table set up in here, so that's why ladies on the floor. Oh, you have a selenite sphere when you write your light codes. If you haven't seen Bonnie's light codes, they're really beautiful. I don't know if you share them publicly. I've seen them on Instagram, and they're quite breathtaking, I have to say. Some of the most beautiful light codes written I've ever seen before. Oh, I love that. I love your comments, by the way. And you should also be reading each other's comments, because there's a lot of you are very experienced, and so when you say, oh, I do this or I do that, you're going to learn other things from other people too. So that is to open and expand the field. When we're done with that work, whatever healing work we're doing, her energy centers are now open. So if I go in with a Vogel and I want to do some extraction, if I go in and I want to, with a wand, for example, I want to, because this is the projecting hand, so I can send to her, or I can channel through, through spirit for her. So I can set the intention that I'm channeling, a universal light frequency for solar plexus healing. And then I can channel a frequency, universal light frequency for her heart. And I can channel a universal light frequency for her throat. And so any work that I'm doing, and I can actually just, if I wanted to do work on her arms, for example, I could just lay the wand on her and then start to move the energy through her hands, because again, we release energy through our hands and through our feet. So massage of the hands and massage of the feet is really good, so that she can feel the energy moving through. Right. So just connecting with her crown chakra and letting the energy flow through the system. And again, anytime you're trying to move energy, you always want to run your pendulum again just to check the efficacy of it, right? Like, is the energy, if there was a blockage, is it clear now? And you can use the pendulum to read that. So, and you don't have to have all these tools. I'm just showing you some different versatile methods for how this can work. Now, when you're done, you do want to close up the energy centers. It's like leaving your fly unzipped, and we've talked about this before too. Oh, for releasing the energy since it's on the ground. Yeah, well, I mean, you always want to release to the earth, right? So when you're done with any kind of energy work, if you're extracting, you always want to release it to the earth. Or like I said, I've taught you to release to water, right? Or you can open a portal and release through the portal, which is my favorite method, but I think it's easier to imagine releasing it to the earth. So if she's on a massage table, I'm still going to come down and down and in and down and in and down and in and down to ground that energy out. Or for me, I like to open a portal, because then I don't have to touch the ground. I can just be working and out and in and out and in and out and in and out. Because when I'm doing extraction, it's usually, there's a lot of energy moving. So I just want to be able to move it and go, and then I'll close a portal after I do that. Yeah, you don't want to leave people's root hanging out. It's it's not appropriate. Oh, I like that. Yep. So, and don't leave the hands and the feet unattended. That's the most important thing. I usually have a couple of tumbles, for the person I'm working on to hold in their hands. And I try to correspond those. I like to give them a copper-based mineral if I don't have anything else, because again, that's going to allow the energy to flow more smoothly. You can also place a copper-based mineral above their head, and you can do 2 copper-based minerals at the bottoms of their feet, so that any work that you're doing, you're encouraging the energy to flow through and past them. So that's something good to consider too when you're building your crystal library. It's nice for the client to have something to hold on to. And then, but it's also nice for you to be paying attention to hands, to the back of the neck as you're coming in and doing work too. And then I like to just be consistently moving the energy through the legs. It feels really good too for someone just to be kind of just gently squeezing and touching and moving. And that will also help the person that you're working on to feel more comfortable too, because constant contact like that is very reassuring. I've had a couple of crystal healing sessions with people who never touched me for like an hour or 90 minutes. It was just all in the air, and that can make people very anxious. If there's no grounding of it with physical touch, I think that could end up, and that can also end up with somebody going, did you really do anything? You know what I mean? If you have somebody brand new and they're like, You never touched me. It's like, well, the crystals were working, which I believe they are, but it's also nice to have that physical contact too. So always, anytime you're opening a circle or a portal or anything like that, you want to open it clockwise and close it counterclockwise. That's right. No, you open and close a portal to release energy if you're not releasing it to the earth. To close their energy centers, it's as simple as going back the way you came. So I started with her root and I finished with her crown. So now I'm going to go back through, and instead of going clockwise, I'm going to go counterclockwise to start to close her energy centers. And if this was another person, I would be talking her through this, maybe with some gentle language for visualization. And so I want to invite you to close your eyes a little bit as I take you through this exercise now too. And actually, why don't we do this, the visualization part, why don't we do this together? I'm going to reopen her chakras so that you can have the experience too. And then I'll go through and close your chakras and see how you feel. So I just want you to imagine that at your root chakra, we are slowly turning that great wheel of grounding and presence and protection and safety. And we're gently opening that anchor within you that connects you to home and to safety, to knowing who you are and why you're here and that you're worthy and that you have a place on this earth. It's very important. It's irreplaceable. And then it's your sacral chakra, and you can just gently over your own body now, just over each of your chakras, just give yourself a gentle massage with your sphere to open those energy centers. At the sacral chakra, we're opening your center now to creative expression, to passion. Reminding you of your capacity to create, to birth, to grow, to expand, to shapeshift, to become. Reminding you of what it's like to feel full of passion and desire. So awakening your life force at the sacral chakra. And at the solar plexus, just rubbing gently into your belly here to activate and open and align this energy center that reminds you of your power, connects you to your will. Yeah, so that's exactly why, Diana, I teach you how to do this on the body and off the body, right? Because you don't have to be in the energy center. And so if you can't physically touch, or, for a lot of us, Diana, we're still remote. And so we're doing sessions like this remotely where the person is watching and they've got their own sphere and I'm doing and they're receiving and they're listening to my words, but they're doing the work on themselves, or they're just allowing themselves to receive it virtually, right? Like a Reiki session. So here at the solar plexus, we're opening, awakening the power center, helping you feel connected to your sense of worthiness, your sense of competence, your sense of strength, reminding you that you have everything you need within you to achieve. And then at your heart, just gently opening that center to remind you of your capacity to love and be loved. That there's no one quite on this planet just like you. That you're worthy of love, you're capable of love, that love flows to you freely from sources seen and unseen. And at your throat chakra, just gently massaging here to open the seed of your authentic expression and communication, authorizing you to speak, to express, to open, to say what needs to be said to yourself and others, learning the sound of your own voice, appreciating that voice. And just gently bringing this medicine now to the third eye. Opening your knowing eye, connecting it to your spirit vision, helping you to access, channel, and download information, codes, wisdom from other planes and other dimensions. Again, knowing it's safe to access these visions and activate these visions. And then at the crown, just reminding you of your connection to a force that's greater than you. An all-loving source of wisdom and power that animates this universe, and breathe the breath of life into you, whatever you call that. That force exists, connecting you to a deeper understanding of your place in this universe. And sometimes it's nice just to bring it all the way back down the line. And then just take a moment to notice how you feel here. Through that visualization, do you feel that your channel is more open than it was a few minutes ago? Like maybe you feel more relaxed and settled in your body. If there was any tension, you might notice that that tension dissipates because it has a channel to flow through now. That's right. That's right. The key basically is a double wand, right? So it's the way the key opens is more limited in its scope, which can be very helpful. But the way the sphere opens is it's gathering energy from all directions. So it's a different tool, right? The key is this. The key is two wands. So it's gathering north, south, east, and west, but it's not gathering from all dimensions. Does that make sense? So the sphere, when we open, is opening with a broader flow of energy. It's opening to a broader field. And because the sphere contains the same toroidal field that she has, it's also connecting her individual energy centers with her broader energy field. If that makes sense? Are you feeling a release? Yeah, and notice, like, I had a little hip kind of like sciatic situation earlier today, and like that feels a little bit released. You absolutely can, and this can become, like, for you, it can just become, you can literally for yourself just do this. And then when you want to close it, you just counterclockwise back down. Did you see that? Open, 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 open. The Egyptians in the morning in the temples used to do the greet the sun, you know? And then in the evening they would greet the moon, right? To sort of close the energy center, close the field. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like a greet the sun, and then at night we greet the moon. And it's nice to go to bed with tight, closed energy centers because you're going to have better dreams, you know what I mean? A lot of people, you know, dream walk and things like that, and so you end up with all these outer influences in your dream realm, and maybe you don't want that. Are the directions the same for the southern hemisphere? Most people observe the same directions in the southern hemisphere. But I would say do what's right for you. If you feel like working in the opposite directions makes more sense, you can totally do that. The chakra key is good for, in my experience, when you have a very specific issue or a very specific blockage, because it's sort of a, it's, the way the energy works is more direct, it's more linear, and it's more focused. The chakra key for me is better when I have pain that's aligned to a specific chakra than this, because it's a tighter flow of the energy. It's not as, you have to remember the spheres, the only drawback of a sphere, and I'm glad you're asking this because it's an opportunity for me to tell you this. The drawback of a sphere is this, because every tool has its benefits and its drawbacks, right? The drawback of a sphere is it dissipates the energy. It's not as tight. I mean, that's why we work with wands and keys and extractors, and those have a more narrow field of energy, and because the energy isn't moving in 360 degrees, it's got a more narrow, linear field of focus. Does that make sense? So now, I mean, in some ways, if you've got, like, let's say you've got somebody with fibromyalgia. If I've got somebody who's got total body pain, I would rather work with a sphere. I've worked with so many fibro clients, and they have pain everywhere, and it migrates. Like on a Monday they'll have their shoulder and their hip are really bad, and then on Tuesday they'll tell me, oh my god, my knee and my wrist or whatever, right? Because it's a migrating kind of floating pain. It's the shittiest thing you can possibly have. So with somebody with fibro, I'm going to want to work with a sphere because I can cover more ground, and if there's pain in 8 different places, I can move energy a lot more quickly. If I've got somebody who's coming to me and they're like, Athena, it's on my hip, like, and we really have a very tight field of focus here. I'm going to try to figure out which chakra is corresponding, right? And there's different tools that you can work with. The pendulum is always the most accurate. So what I will do is hold the pendulum, run the pendulum, and check the spot and ask which chakra the pain in the hip is corresponding to. Once I figure out what that location is, then you can take the key and narrow the flow of energy and see what happens to the pain, right? So you can start to experiment that way too. So if you have fibro, working with a sphere through your field is the best thing to do. But the test that I just did is really important for you if you have fibro, because at least with everybody I know with fibro, which includes, like I said, clients, friends, family, I know a lot of people with fibro. What you want to do is you want to identify where each pain is aligned to the chakra. So what I will do is, if you're like, okay, it's really my right shoulder today, I'm going to ask the system to tell me which chakra is connected to this pain in the shoulder, and I'm going to watch the flow of the energy through the chakras as I activate that meridian. And then once I know which chakra it is, then you can decide, why don't you try working with the sphere? Maybe it's the throat chakra, right? Shoulder pain is often referred physical pain from an energetic blockage at the heart or the throat. And so you can try loosening and see if that helps, and try tightening. And then you can experiment. If you have the key, you can try the key too and see if that helps. But with fibro pain where it's more dispersed, the spheres are often more helpful for moving the energy than a wand, in my experience. Is this helpful? I'm trying to balance like showing you everything and answering your questions, so I hope this is working for you. So it's a great question from Jalen Reed. So traditionally, when you have pain, a chakra can need to be tightened. There might be too much energy trying to push through a chakra, or you might have a blockage in one chakra. So what the energy is doing is it's trapped here, so it moves around, and you end up with pain between the other 2 chakras. For some people, they need to open the chakra to allow more energy to flow. So what I usually say is, try opening first to create a better pathway for the energy to flow through. If opening does not help, it could be that you actually have an overactive chakra and you need to constrict or tighten the energy flow through. And when you start to work with the chakras, you're going to notice a really big difference. And the more you work with the chakras, you should try to work with multiple chakras, right? Usually it's not just, solar plexus and nothing else, because you always have to look at the adjacent chakras. If you've got a solar plexus issue, your heart could be involved, your sacral could be involved, because those are the adjacent chakras. So you always want to be assessing and analyzing and also cleansing and adjusting the other 2 corresponding chakras too. Remember, the chakras go all the way through the body. Cecilia, it's a great question. So sometimes what I'll do is have a client turn over on the massage table, and I'll work the back too. Because you have to remember, depends on where it is. Lower back pain is the sacral and the root, right? I get back pain right at the top of my rear end, right at the top of my little butt crack right here. I have a little pain that happens right there. Well, that can be root, and that can also be sacral. And nothing feels better than getting your sphere right here in the lower back. It's like, oof. More, don't stop. If you don't believe me, find somebody in your household tonight and say, can I try something on you? Upper back pain up here, pinched nerves in the neck and stuff, are throat. This is how my mom's throat chakra blockage shows up. Stenosis of the spine, right? So it's really good if you have a lot of back pain. It's really good just to take the sphere from, right the lowest part of your back right here, And then just do a direct line all the way up and track the line. You don't want to go right on the spine, but right up the side of the spine on the right and right up the side of the spine on the left. And then up to the top of the neck. That will move a lot of energy through. And then you can take it down over the back of the leg. Feels really good too. Just be gentle because some people are really sensitive. Kind of into the back of the knee. Feels really good. And then I like to take it down. If I've got a customer or a client who's willing to lay down, face down on the table, it's really nice to bring the sphere down and then just rub on the soles of their feet like this. That feels so good down to your toes. So back pain is still chakra. You just have to look through your back to realize, right? If your back pain is up here, that's your throat. If your back pain is through here, through the center of your back, that's your heart. Center of your back is your solar plexus. And right above your butt crack is still your sacral chakra. And then if you've got, lower back pain, the sciatic is coming down through here. You've got root chakra. It feels so good. Yeah, not on the spine. You want to go to the sides of the spine. That will not feel good for you or anyone else. She doesn't have a spine, so I have to make a spine for her. But yeah. So I end up making kind of when I start here at the top of at the lowest part of the back around, it's kind of like a curve. And then a curve up to the top of the back of the neck. And then for migraines and headaches, a sphere right here. You see what I'm doing? A sphere right here. Just on the back of her neck. I mean, there's nothing better than that. Right down the sides of the neck. She will be melting off your table. Look, she's like, oh, honey, it's so good. I can't even with this right now. Oh, yeah. You're in good shape, little cutie. You sure are. She's got a Vogel between her legs. Are you just happy to see me? Yeah, usually upper back and neck stuff is throat chakra. A lot of people with throat chakra blockages don't have thyroid, but they have spinal. They'll have disc issues right here. Almost never fails. I've never met anybody with disc issues right here who didn't have a throat chakra situation. Now, I'm going to take you back down. I'm going to close your chakras. Right? So we're gonna start where we left off, and now we're going counterclockwise. Again, you can do this on yourself, or just let it be an energy work exercise if you don't have a sphere with you right now. So at your crown chakra now, we're going to close this energy center, letting go of our need to understand, just allowing ourselves to relax and to be in our body in this moment, giving thanks for our connection to our Creator and our Source, trusting that everything is unfolding in perfect time. And down to the third eye. Feeling like I just want to work with the ocean jasper there. And just closing that third eye. And letting the knowing eye rest while the seeing eyes remain. Trusting that we received any visions that we needed to for today. Allowing this energy center to rest into the throat. Sealing this center, giving thanks for our authentic expression, our capacity to communicate our needs and our desires, knowing that our voice is worthy and valuable. And then to the heart, narrowing this field for today. We just don't want to leave them open, so we're just closing this energy center for now. Giving thanks for heart opening, heart awakening, and heart healing. And trusting in our capacity to love and be loved. And to the solar plexus. Giving thanks for our power and strength. trusting that we are enough at all times, that we're worthy, confident, capable, strong, powerful. And learning to rest in that power without the need to prove it. And into the sacral. Giving thanks for our creativity and passion and desire, for our capacity to bring new creations to life, our unique fingerprint of what only we can make and design, and manifesting our desires in the world. And then closing the root, remembering that we are safe and worthy and held, remembering that we always have a home. Wherever our heart lives is where home is. And giving thanks for our protection, our connection to the planet, knowing that we belong here, and there's always a place for us here. And again, it's just nice to continue to extend the line to the soles of the feet, to the soles of the feet, to the palm of the hands. This becomes a really nice way to close a healing session, because you'll just have your client so relaxed and just like, yes, 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 yes. Now I can go back out into the world. And when I'm doing that, I try to make a continuous line without lifting off the body too much. Because with a sphere, there's no rough edges, so you can just make a really nice continuous line on the body. And I always like to finish at the heart. And then if you did open a circle, remember that we took the sphere around her clockwise, so I'm going to take it around counterclockwise now. And I took the energy through my field too, to my own heart as well. And we want to give thanks and release the guides and the guardians. Did I already close the circle? I think I did. I want to thank and release the guides and the guardians of the four directions for anchoring the energy in our space today. Thanking the guides and the guardians of the north for their protection and their stability, and releasing them. Thanking and releasing the guides and the guardians of the west for the flow of energy today, the healing that we were able to process and move through. And thanking and releasing the guides and the guardians of the south for helping us transform and shift in the direction of our perfect health. And then thanking and releasing the guides and the guardians of the east for opening a new doorway to our healing and our wellness. And with that, our session, darling Charlotta, is complete.
I feel good. I'm a new woman.
And I hope you enjoyed class. I know we went a few minutes over. I hope that's okay. I do try to respect your time, and I know the evenings get really busy for all of you. But I want to thank you for being here today and letting me share the magic of such a simple but powerful tool. Who knew how important a sphere could be? You want to close those chakras because they are energy centers. And so when we consciously open them, we want to consciously close them. What I was always taught in magic is that you always want to, if you begin a process, you want to complete the process. So when you go out with open chakras, you can feel a little vulnerable. Now it's nice because you can run more energy. I like to open my chakras before I do healing work on someone because I can run energy more efficiently as a healer too. I'm so glad you liked it. So we have some fun spheres. If you didn't have a sphere for tonight and you wanted one, you do have 20% off at sagegoddess.com till midnight tomorrow with code CM20. CM20. And we have a couple of cool ones. We have some South African bloodstone spheres in stock. That's a great healer. We had septarian spheres today. Those are for ancient wisdom. That's calcite with aragonite. We have, what other spheres do we have? Oh, we had some, not a lot of these, by the way. We do have Aura Ocean Jasper. Just the last of them, and they're beautiful. There's 2 different sizes of those. We have Lemurian Blue Calcite spheres. I don't know if I have one of those. Oh, I do. This is a great one for harmony and peace. If you do a lot of emotional healing with clients, this can be a really good one to work with. To let them hold. This is like one of the best throat chakra stones too. So if you do a lot of work with clients around expression or communication, that's a good one. So those are the ones I have, and then of course, you know, there's 1,000 places to find spheres, but we do have some on SageGoddess.com, and so if you are needing one, that is your code. If you already ordered with your 18% off code, you can write in to support.sagegoddess.com, and they will refund you the 2%. They're so good, and they don't mind doing that. So just write into them and say, oh my gosh, hi, it's Athena, and holy poops, I placed an order today before I realized there was a 20% off sale. Would you mind? And they will refund you the 2%. 2% is 2%, man. I would write in. I mean, it depends on what you bought. If you bought a tumbled stone, you know, it's probably not going to be that much money back. But if you spent some, you know, money on crystals, you should get your 2%. That's one of your membership perks, right? So, anyway, we appreciate you so much. I'm really glad you enjoyed class tonight. We have session 3 next week for Soul Shift, if you're in Soul Shift. I do want to remind you that if you're in Crystal Masters, if you decide to upgrade to Soul Shift this month, you get the manifestation class on June 29th for free. Otherwise, it's $40. So quite a few people are upgrading and then are planning to kind of downgrade back down to Soul Shift next month, which you can totally do if you want the manifestation class. That way you're not paying for a class that would be free to you otherwise. Yeah. Does your neck feel better? I love that so much. Well, you are very welcome. Can I show the plate with some symbol? Were you wondering about the grid? Were you wondering about that? Let me know if this is what you were asking about. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed class tonight. I loved it too. I had a really, really good time. When you work on your reverse self, do you reverse open, right, close, left? No, I still open, right, close, left when I work on myself. And I work on myself a lot, as you might imagine. I was able to avert surgery. I was having rotator cuff issues so bad about 1.5 years ago that I was going to an orthopedist, and she wanted to put me on major painkillers and talked about surgery and stuff. I swear to you, I healed it energetically. I have no pain. I'm not taking any pain meds. That stuff, it was an energetic block. So I'm not saying that we can always work miracles, but I've seen some pretty dramatic things happening. I mean, I literally couldn't lift my arm like this. It just wasn't happening. So I do so much work on myself because I've been able to really move some energy and see some results. And it helps with nerve pain from MS, which I get a lot. So I always say just try it, you know. Let me ring my bell since class is over. Anybody who wants to sign off, or if you need to, don't worry at all. I'm going to stay for another minute or two just to answer any other questions you have. Oh, it's Sri Yantra. Let's see, Dasha asked, any way to help a sphere when you are feeling coming down with something like a cold or flu? I will tell you, that's where aromatherapy comes in. Next year, Crystal Masters, I'm going to be incorporating sound and aromatherapy a little bit into our work. And the reason is, and Team SG and I were talking about this week because we're starting to plan your programs for next year. And I said, you know, you guys, I almost never work with crystals without oils. Whether it's to create a little lubricant for massage, or whether it's to incorporate the oils for the healing properties. If you're coming down with a cold, or you think you are, frankincense essential oil is a natural antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal. What I do is I take a little tiny bit of the oil at the beginning of cold and flu season on my pinky finger and up my nose on the mucous membranes. because most of the colds and flus that we catch happen through our nose and mouth, right? So I'm not gonna like overdo it, but like 1 month you might get a little dram of oil with your tool, so that I can show you how to work with, or you might get a recording of a certain frequency to work with your tool, because I want to start to do a little bit more hybrid training next year. It's more practical and it's truer to my own practice too. I'm glad you're excited. What spheres can we use? Any sphere you want. I collect spheres because I love them. Like I said, it is one of my favorite shapes. So, but any sphere you feel connected to probably feels connected to you too. If it has quartz in the matrix, all the better, right? Because then you know that it also can magnify and can also be programmable too when you're working with quartz. Frankincense is the one that I work with when I feel like I might be coming down with a cold. Also, I take a salt bath every night, and that's really important. And then you can add oils to that, depending on what you're trying to do. Eucalyptus is really good if you're feeling congested. Eucalyptus and tea tree. If you've got a headache, some lavender and some peppermint in there. Yeah, let me go get the Sri Yantra plate really quick so you can see that. It is pretty cool. It's worthy of a gander. I'm going to stand up a little bit more slowly. Do I have that? Maybe I do. It's right here. Frankincense works for everything. Leo the lion, he doesn't look very good because his headband, Smudgy jumped up there earlier today, and his back leg pushed Leo's headband down over his eyes. I gotta fix that. Sri Yantra. Yeah, my knee pops. Don't get old. So that's the Sri Yantra. So there's 50, this is, in this shape, there are 54 lines. And they run in two directions, masculine, feminine, right? So that's where your 108 comes from. And again, when you look at the Sri Yantra, you look at one-dimensionally, it's like, you have to really think of this as a 3D object. I have a quartz one. There's my little hummingbird, he's always right there. He always comes during class. It's so funny. He sits right on this one little branch. Anyway, you have to imagine it as a 3D, right? So this is one-dimensional. It probably doesn't look that exciting, but yeah. Yep. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I know. I asked my doctor about my knee, and he looked at me, and because I had my annual physical yesterday, and he's like, "You're in great health." And I was like, "Yeah, but what about my knee?" And he's like, "You're also almost 50. I was like, well, not to put too fine a point on it, sir. He's like, sorry, you don't have 20-year-old knees anymore. Yeah, maybe I should bring these to the shop. I don't know. I feel like you can find these anywhere, though. Amazon probably has these. If Amazon has it, I don't carry it because it's like, why? You know what I mean? You can get it on Amazon. Amazon can probably bring it to your house inside of an hour. So maybe that's a better way to go for it. I don't know where I think my 3D Yantra is at the shop, because I'm looking around my crystal room here. It's at the shop on a grid, packed up with all my shop things, which are still packed up because I don't have a floor in my new office yet. No, my doctor's been my doctor for 28 years, 29 years. So he and I have a great relationship. He's just like, sorry, Athena. Oh, thank you for that, Chanel. I will try that. The comfy root bath sounds real nice. No, the Sri Yantra 3D that I'm talking about is like it's quartz. So it's basically if you pulled the top of this up and you made a pyramid, it looks like if you Google like glass Sri Yantra or quartz Sri Yantra, you're gonna see it. It looks like a stair step kind of like structure, and then that way you can see it in a 3-dimensional form. No, my kitchen is not done yet. Nothing's done. It's been a year and a half, and nothing. Well, I mean, the cabinets are in, but I don't have countertops or anything yet. I mean, it's just pandemic slows everything down. Oh, thanks, you guys. It was great to be with you tonight. All right. Have a great rest of your evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. And for those of you who are new, I hope you really enjoyed your time in Crystal Masters. Remember that Alexis and I are in your Facebook group, so please feel free to continue to hang out with us there. I'll be doing live readings for you once a month. We already had our live readings for June, so our next session will be in July. So hopefully you enjoyed those too. And then if you're in Soul Shift, stay tuned because we have class on Friday. We have our private summer solstice ceremony on Friday. Monday is the public summer solstice ceremony. Then next week, Tuesday, is our live gem sale on YouTube. Wednesday is Soul Shift, session 3. And then I think Thursday's the full moon. And Friday, I'm going to sleep a lot. Friday, I'm going to be in my bed probably the whole day because I've got summer solstice with Soul Shift, Father's Day on Saturday with my dad, Father's Day on Sunday with Dave and his dad. Then Monday is summer solstice public, Tuesday's SGTV, Wednesday's class, and Thursday's full moon. Don't get tired of me yet. I'll see you guys soon. Have a great rest of your night. And thank you, Alexis.